Welcome back to our first episode of KaijuVFX for 2019. Today we're going to be creating Gamera's famous flying shell spin maneuver with just an SH Monster Arts figure and completely vanilla After Effects, so no paid plugins for this one. The first step was recreating the shell spinning itself. I detached the arms, legs, tail, and head from my Gamera figure and set him on a turntable and got ready to spin. Slowly but surely. Now you could simply take a few frames of stop motion animation and imitate a fast shell spin right off the bat, but for this effect I was unsure of how fast I would want Gamera to spin, so having him on the turntable lets us set the speed of his spin to however fast we want when in post-production. Once filming was complete, I imported our footage into Adobe After Effects and did a quick rotoscope job around Gamera's shell as he spun around the turntable. Once the roto was complete with pretty minimal pain, I froze all the frames so the mask would remain intact while working with the footage. I keyed out the green screen with a simple key light effect, and then played around with the time stretch of the layer to test out different speeds of spinning. Eventually I settled on a spin that lasts about half a second before looping, and I then duplicated the layer a lot and pre-comped them all so that we had one layer in a perfect constant loop. It was then time to digitally create the jets that propel Gamera as he spins through the sky. I simply took the pen tool and drew a rough shape of a jet coming from where Gamera's arm would be, and then I animated keyframes for the mask path, layer position, and rotation, and animated the jet frame by frame to properly mimic the motion of a spinning jet stream. Repeated this process 3 more times for all the other jets coming from Gamera, and the ground was laid for the effect to take shape. I did the same looping process for Gamera spinning and pre-comped the foreground and background jet layers separately, leaving us ready to start packing on the effects. First I added a fast box blur to soften those sharp edges just a tad. Then a quick turbulent displacement to make the jet streams look a little bit wavier and windy. And a fractal noise effect to give them a bit of a subtle smoky texture, and also making sure to animate the offset turbulence X to ensure a clean animation like the smoke is being poured out of the jet. Then it was time to make the jets really glow and pop. First I added a solid composite and colored it black so that we could properly colorize it with a curves adjustment, where I bumped up the blue and green channels just a bit. Then I added some glows to really make the jets pop. I also quickly added a horizontal fast box blur to the Gamera base layer so that we could get some good motion blur as he spins, and I also created another duplicate layer of the jet layer where I animated some simple lens flares to the starting points of the jets, just to get a bit more of a hotspot type look at the base of the streaks. Next I did some work on animating the shell spin. Because we pre-composed every layer of the shell and jets, we were able to simply make all of them 3D layers, create a 3D environment with various cloud layers, and then animate the rotation and position of the shell and add a camera movement to really make the scene seem super dynamic. Now it was time to do some color correction on the elements. I brought the contrast up and brightness down on the base Gamera layer, but I wanted to get some good dynamic lighting on the shell coming from the jets, so I duplicated the foreground jets layer, blurred it out a good bit, and duplicated the Gamera layer, and set its alpha matte to be the blurred jet layer. I then upped the brightness and blue channels on the Gamera light layer. This made adding a cool lighting effect onto the shell super quick and simple. Then I did some more work enhancing the environment and the shot was done. Using only the tools given to us in After Effects, we recreated a super dynamic shot of Gamera flying through a stormy sky. And that wraps up this tutorial. This effect was requested by Patreon supporter William Zorio. If you want to get your VFX tutorial request made a top priority, then consider supporting us on Patreon. This has been a new take on these KaijuVFX videos, so let me know in the comments below if you enjoy the more fast-paced, quick style of tutorial, or if you prefer the step-by-step, little more of hand-holdy process of the older tutorials, or if you want to see a mix of both. Since I've been over the basics of a lot of these effects, I think that this type of format really is a good way to really get the essentials of the effect across, and still allow room for you guys to be creative in creating your own version of the same effects. So let me know below, and I hope you enjoyed this dive into creating this effect, and hopefully it inspires you to make your own awesome kaiju visual effects. Thanks for watching. I would like to give a special thank you to all of our current Patreon supporters, including Deadzilla, Goji73, Liquid Pestar, GWRzilla, Jeff King, Johnny Sacco, Ultriab, William Zorio, and Jaws Infinity. If you want to see your name at the end of each of my videos as well, in addition to some other awesome rewards, consider supporting us over at patreon.com/DaikaijuLegends.